Hello everyone. Welcome to the sustainability stage at the Minnesota State Fair Eco Experience Building. We're really excited to have all of you who are here in person. We welcome anybody who's in the building to come join us as students speak about sustainability, the challenges, opportunities, and possibilities for what we can create together. My name is Terry Gibbs. I volunteer as the president of the Alliance for Sustainability, and I'm one of its co-founders almost 40 years ago. So we've been doing this for a long time, and our mission is to bring about sustainability on a personal, organizational, and planetary level. And we're just really delighted that today we get to have 2 of our 10 interns to be able to speak with you about what is sustainability and their experiences and the challenges with it. And so I'm really delighted. I'm going to just turn it over to Abby Mathew, who is at the University of Minnesota, and she'll speak about her experience. She's from California. And then Brock Munsterteiger, who is also an intern with us from St. Thomas and from Buffalo. And what is really exciting for me is that both of them have really contributed so much to the Alliance. They've made such a huge difference. So I'd like to welcome our Facebook live stream audience. And at any time, if you have any questions for them, please feel free. I'll have a mic, and you can ask your questions or comments. And then we'll hopefully have some time at the end also to have some further discussion about everything that they're going to share. And for those of you who are on Facebook live stream, please feel free to add any comments or questions, and we will look at them and get back to you afterwards. The other thing I just wanted to point out is that we'd be delighted to have you have a membership in the Alliance for Sustainability. So if you sign our sign-in sheets in the front or in the back, we'd be happy to have you have a free membership. And in addition to that, you'll receive our monthly e-newsletter and also a sheet on 10 things you can do to both save money and the planet. And in addition to that, we have a partnership with French Meadow Bakery and Cafe, which is the oldest continuing operating organic bakery in the United States. And they have given us a coupon that we'll be happy to give to you if you sign up for 10% off at either of the French Meadows. So with that, I would really like to say thank you both for being willing to come here. And it's just really exciting to both have had your work with us and then to have you share your ideas. So thanks so much. Woo! Thank you. Test, test. There we go. All right. Do you want to introduce yourself first, and then I'll go?
So, hi everyone. I'm Abigail. I usually go by Abby. I'm a junior at the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities, studying environmental science, policy, and management with minors in public health and corporate environmental management. So I guess here on campus, what I like to do outside of just schoolwork, I'm a campus tour guide. So if you ever need to see the campus, I'm your other person, I guess. And as well as I am a leader for an organic food pantry on campus too. So yeah.
Awesome. So my name is Brock Munsterteiger. I'm from the University of St. Thomas. I'm a junior there studying marketing management, and this year I'm newly an RA in Morrison. Yeah, some of my friends say that. Thank you. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the challenges we see in sustainability as students.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start off first with some challenges I have as somebody that does really care about sustainability as well as the environment and just on campus. So I guess the first thing is, as an environmental science major, I know I get kind of the stereotype that I'm like a tree hugger, or like I gotta like tone it down type of thing. So I think that is somewhat difficult, kind of constantly explaining to people that it's not just the environment, like I care more than just the environment, but also other things as well. And I think there's a lot of people that take that for granted, take our work for granted, take everything that we do for granted. So I really do think it's inspiring when I do see other people like me also caring about the environment and continuing on with that kind of fight that not many people are doing personally. And then I guess the next one is kind of just like the argument that I'm not, like, you're not that unsustainable, why do you even care? Like, you're kind of, how do I explain this? Like, you're caring too much about it, and you already kind of are really environmentally conscious, so why are you continuing to fight this fight when you seem to already be doing everything that you can? Like, what more can you do almost? So, yeah, those are some of the challenges that I've encountered, at least these past few years at college, as well as just even in my high school and elementary school years.
Awesome, very interesting. So sort of inspired by my time with the Alliance, I put together sort of a message that I see as the challenge with sustainability that I see and others for the world. So here's this urgent message I have for everyone. Your awareness, inclusion, and action are vital now, at this moment. As a global community, we are beginning now to see things for how they really are. We are in a unique position, marred by political instability, social isolation, and general polarization that on the surface appears bleak and hopeless, but at its core provides an opportunity for healing, rebuilding, and fundamental systems change, something we are very passionate about at the Alliance for Sustainability. At the Alliance, we are committed to furthering the atmosphere and environment of Jedi, and I don't mean Luke Skywalker. I'm talking about justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. Jedi. I believe that it is from this bedrock foundation that we can unwind the large ball of twine we've accumulated over the years to the use of harmful and hazardous products, practices, and paranoia. It is also my strong belief that it is through simply starting a conversation while incorporating Jedi that we can begin to understand the problems before us. If we begin with education, we will be able to understand why taking action is so crucial. Just talk, listen, ask questions, learn, act, and change. Thank you. So now we're going to move on to a little bit about the opportunities we see with sustainability.
Yeah, so some opportunities for sustainability on a college campus specifically. So I'm going to first talk about things that I've experienced and how I've kind of had sustainability been such a huge part of my life on campus. So the first thing is public transportation. So most people on campus, I know from my campus on the Twin Cities campus, most people don't have cars. And so what we use is typically like the metro transportation. We have the metro line just running through campus, as well as there's campus buses that are running every 5 minutes during the day. So it's just really kind of convenient to do anything. And I know for me, I've never had a car on campus, and I never found myself needing a car ever on campus. So it's just always take the metro and just have it's a $2 pass, and it's really, really useful. And so I think that's a really great opportunity for students all over the world, all over the country, just because typically a lot of universities have at least a bus system running around. So I would really recommend if you do have the opportunity to use public transportation to take you really, really utilize it, just because it is a very useful thing and helps people. And then another thing is I know that I got an apartment last year, and it was really great to start grocery shopping on my own, not having to rely on the stuff I had at home. And so one of the grocery stores that I shop at, it's called Fresh Time. It's a local, I wouldn't describe it as local, but it's kind of more organic and more locally produced type of chain grocery store, and that's one metro stop away. And so I find myself going there. That's where I do the most of my shopping with my roommates, and it's really great because over there I find myself using sustainability tips while grocery shopping. So one of them is just always carrying reusable bags. It's really easy, and it's nice because I do have to walk there or the metro stop, so it's just usually just having to take there. It was a little bit of an adjustment to getting used to. Previously, I'd always been using a car, and so it's been great to actually be able to walk around and get some muscles holding my really, really heavy groceries sometimes. But I think Also, another tip that I've been finding myself using is planning my groceries before I go and buy them, because I'm not sure if you guys have experienced this. I know that when I go to a grocery store, especially if I'm hungry, I always find myself getting multiple more items than I ever planned for. So what my parents and I do is we plan out the meals that we're cooking. We do cook together, which is nice, and we get to experience meals together. And so what we do is we just plan out all of those meals, plan out the ingredients that we need, so we don't come out with lots of other items that we won't find ourselves eating, or we won't have extra produce that we just go to waste. So that's been really great to like help conquer our food waste, which is really great. And then another thing I like doing is I sometimes go to like the Boston farmers market to go. They have lots of like vegetables. Sometimes they have fruits depending on the season, but that's been really great because I get to experience it locally as well as seasonally grown food, and that kind of eliminates the cost of the emission costs of people transporting their foods from miles away, from states over. So that's a really great resource to support your regional local growers, as well as just eliminate those unfair labor costs of fruits and vegetables grown elsewhere, which is nice as well. And then another thing that I do with my roommates do, as well as some of my friends do, is we really do try to reduce meat consumption. So we kind of practice meatless Mondays, as well as just other days we'd like to have more like tofu in our diets, or more vegetables, and more fruits. And just incorporating that does really help the environment as well. And yeah, I guess another thing is, I mentioned in my introduction, I am part of the club on campus, which is a organic food pantry on campus. So we give free vegetables, free fruits, free non-perishable, perishable items. We even include recipe packets and things like that, so people know what to use with the ingredients that we give out for free. And so that's a really great resource, because local growers, as well as just local companies around the area, will donate free things to us, and we'll give it to people that need it here on campus. So it's a really great resource as well. So just finding local areas that have extra produce, and just finding that produce, for example, that is thrown out too quickly, is a really great resource as well. Yeah, those are some opportunities for students on campus.
Awesome, thank you. Lots of good tips there. All right, to talk about opportunities, I decided to feature a few selections from blog posts that you can read on our website by Alliance intern Shannon Sari. So go check out our website, lots of great content there. So here we go. At the Alliance, we do not have all the answers, but we do have a few ideas of where we can start. For one, biomimicry. Looking to nature for answers. By studying how animals interact with nature, we can incorporate new systems that lessen our carbon footprint. And some examples of biomimicry include how desert beetles that collect water from fog inspired a new water harvesting mechanism, the use of a tree's nutrient transport system to filter water, architecture with a passive cooling system inspired by termite mounds, and how wind turbines can be improved with use of technology inspired by the shape of whale flippers, and a textured surface coating inspired by shark skin. For another opportunity, when buying produce, buy local. Doing this strengthens your local economy and builds the resiliency of your community. Historically, the Alliance is known for pioneering awareness, like the Nestle Boycott in the 70s, as well as yet another example, helping to establish strict standards to uphold the best possible quality for produce. Purchasing certified organic food can make a huge difference in moving towards sustainability, because organic farming builds healthy soil while protecting farmers, farm workers, consumers, wildlife, and the environment from hazardous chemicals. Non-organic foods are often grown with toxic pesticides and synthetic fertilizers that harm beneficial organisms, pollute the environment, decrease plant nutrient uptake, and cause secondary pest outbreaks. Your purchase of organic food helps protect you and the surrounding ecosystem. It keeps toxins out of the air, drinking water, and soil, as well as our rivers, lakes, and oceans. While organic food usually costs more, if we had to pay all the hidden costs of conventional food, it would appear to be cheap. Buying organic is worth it in terms of your health and that of future generations.
So does anyone have any questions for us or just comments for challenges and opportunities that we mentioned or anything like that?
You guys have any?
I do.
It's on.
I wonder.
Oh. Can we turn this mic on?
Sorry about that. We're having some technical difficulties.
Should we use the other mic?
Tess?
Yeah, I wonder if you have other examples of biomimicry that is easy to mimic, and then how effective they are. Thank you.
We're talking about biomimicry, right? So just different things you can do in your day-to-day life. Do you have an example, a good one?
We kind of talked about it before, but obviously living in the environment, back in the olden days, we didn't have, I wasn't alive obviously, but like we really relied on the environment, so we use fires and like have light and that type of thing. So I think kind of replicating that sort of system that mimics the outside world as much as we can. So having like greenhouses and like locally growing our own vegetables and fruits that kind of mimics that old lifestyle of a really sustainable lifestyle, honestly, that can incorporate multiple people doing that, if that makes sense. I think that would be a somewhat practical example.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. The whole field of what we call green chemistry is actually looking at how we can work with nature. And so we now have the swimmers in the Olympics have, it's not a smooth surface that they wear. It's intentionally meant to actually have ripples like sharks do, so they can move through the water. So there's all these examples, things like spiders, for example. How is it that they can eat insects and produce webs that are stronger than the strongest made human substances, Kevlar and steel. And a spider's web is so strong that if it were taken up to full size, it could catch a plane flying at full speed and return to form. So how, instead of using all kinds of chemicals and energy to be able to make that, we're trying to learn how we can make, things as strong as Kevlar, or stronger than Kevlar, but without heating, beating, treating. So it's a whole new world, and almost every major university is looking into this about how you can do biochemistry. And the whole field of biomimicry is really having a huge impact. So, does that help? Yeah, good. Any other questions? Questions? Well, I'm going to ask you guys a question. So my question for you guys is, we are facing, according to the UN, some extraordinary threats from climate change. And here you are, you're in school, and you're seeing this devastation, whether it's fires, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, whatever it is, droughts. It's really pretty overwhelming. And I think for a lot of young people, it's like time to tune out. I can't make a difference. So I want to just ask both of you, how do you feel about that? What keeps you going? What inspires you? What moves you to keep doing all the great stuff that you're doing?
I think seeing different companies innovate and find new solutions that are sort of like the natural alternative is very inspiring, because it shows that it's not all about money, and we can actually make and save more by doing things that don't require these hazardous practices that we sort of instilled over time. So just seeing companies doing that, and individuals and all sorts of organizations on different levels sort of come together is inspiring, in that if we see them doing that, others will do that, and we'll sort of keep going. And I like to see that momentum. I'm starting to see more of that, so I like that.
is kind of similar to Brock's. It's kind of, I really do think it's inspiring that we kind of talk about sustainability being sort of an initial investment where we start off having that you need to put in a little bit more effort, a little bit more time. It might be initially more expensive, but then in the long term, it will eventually turn out, it will be eventually cheaper and just be obviously better for the environment, better for sustainability matters. I think that's what keeps me going, is that we just need to convince the current generation, the current people that it just takes that initial investment, initial action to get this going, to get this kind of process going. And so that's honestly what keeps me going, to kind of keep myself motivated, keep my friends and family motivated, to just keep going at it, keep continuing persevering through all this, especially with this like divided world, continuing on with the environment that all of us hopefully can have some sort of an agreement on, where we are experiencing climate change. So kind of first starting off with awareness, but then also really persevering and continuing to make some actions with those awareness points that we've done.
Another question.
All right, we have another question.
Earlier you mentioned the Nestle Boycott. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about that, and then also if you had suggestions for ways that we could encourage our community facilities or brands that we use often to be more sustainable.
Great questions. You want to
I think, yeah, you have a little bit to say
Yeah,
about
why don't
it.
you do the second one?
Okay, for sure.
Brands, both of you, if you have any comments, and then I'll be happy to answer about Nestle.
Sorry, the second question was.
Encouraging brands to
Encouraging.
change. How do we do
Yeah.
that? Like social media or?
Yeah, so there's a number of ways you can do that. I think finding your voice and sort of amplifying it, there's a number of ways to do that in your local communities, on social media for sure.
How about our newsletter?
Our newsletter, that's a great transition. So if you're really passionate about that, we work really hard to compile a bunch of great content, things you can follow, like policy actions, interesting docu-series to watch, songs that sort of inspire and get people behind a cause, things like that. And that is released every Tuesday. We work really hard to get a sort of dynamic approach to that sort of thing for everyone. So I hope you all will join us in that. So definitely subscribe to that. And talk a little bit about the website as well. We're really working hard to get more content on there. And we have a lot of great stuff already, so you should definitely check that out.
And you want to mention about sustainability partners that we're going to be promoting
Yes,
now?
so we're also getting sustainability partners, which we will be featuring in the newsletter as well. And those people are looking to fund us, and those are great companies and organizations to get behind because they do a lot of great things for sustainability. And some things might be a little more pricey to get behind, but in the long run it saves you. Things like reusable straws. If you really did the math, like in the moment buying that, it's pricier than your standard straw, but over time you're going to be saving so much more money. So small steps like that can lead to great change. So sort of getting behind those companies and sort of following us, starting conversations online, on social media, are a great way to sort of bring this great change about.
My answer is also pretty similar to Brock's, where I agree that those small changes will initially lead to large outcomes if we keep kind of going at it. So also to follow up with, like, there's certain companies that are really doing good for society. So kind of trying to purchase items. So for example, like the first thing that came to my mind was sustainable clothing. I know that a lot of like fast fashion these days aren't made ethically, aren't sourced correctly, sourced ethically, and so really trying to make that effort. Yeah, it'll be a little bit more expensive because things are made with actual ethical practices, with fair wage being in the product, in the works. And so I think that some of those things will initially be a little bit more costly, but trying to acknowledge that those things that you aren't paying for are the things that will be later on kind of getting back at us. So for example, like us using like sweatshops or getting items that aren't ethically made will eventually just lead to more devastation in the world. So I think if you are able to make that investment, or even just buying secondhand clothing, so going to thrift shops, or going to thrift stores, or buying like secondhand items, that's a really great way of like reusing items and just reducing the waste of fast fashion these days. So that's just an example of just one item.
Thanks, Abby and Brett. Just one more thing to add about changing corporate behavior. The Alliance has always been involved in doing that. And in 1989, when the Exxon Valdez ran aground, we joined with other environmental groups, along with labor unions, religious organizations, the City of New York Pension Fund, the State of California Pension Fund, socially responsible investors, and we created something called the Series Principles, 10 Principles for Corporate Environmental Responsibility. And we led the effort to actually get companies to sign those principles to change their corporate behavior. So that has been a huge success. We've got all kinds of companies to be able to sign that and do that. And we believe very much in being able to acknowledge, like Brock said, companies that are doing the right thing, that are aligned with our values. And we want our members and followers to be able to support them and know about them, so we promote them. But we're also going, and we've given awards, sustainability awards, to people, organizations, and businesses and government that have been doing the right thing. We want to sort of hold them up as models, which we think is important. But we're also going to be targeting those companies that are not being responsible, that are doing what we call greenwashing. That's just not okay. And there are companies like Monsanto that have been claiming that they're doing sustainability, and they're doing the exact opposite with their genetically modified organisms and all kinds of other challenges. So we really want people to be aware, and we've been writing about that in our newsletter about what they're doing. But we're going to actually take it much further. And one of the efforts is, As You Sow, we're going to be joining with them. As You Sow has been leading an effort to target the 1,000 top companies. And they're starting with Amazon and with Google because they have pension funds for their employees. And Amazon and Google claim that they're doing all this great stuff about sustainability. But if you look where their money is invested in these 401ks, their retirement plans for their employees, they're absolutely not. They're just more fossil fuel and more destruction. So we're going to have a campaign working with them to get these companies to change their policies. So part of the idea is to move money, to shift it to the things we want and away from the things that are destructive. Now, on your question about the Nestle boycott, it took place before either of these guys were even born. I happen to have been very involved in it, and the alliance was actually created by the people who began the Nestle boycott in the Newman Center at the University of Minnesota. Now it's the 1701 University building, so it's a very, very famous place because a small group of us would get together, about 30 people, and we would meet once a week. We were called the Third World Institute, and we would study third world issues. And then we would take an action of some kind, writing letters or doing a boycott or doing something. And what ended up happening was that Nestle was marketing infant formula. Their market was saturated in the United States and developed countries, so they were marketing it to developing countries, where they would dress women up to look like they were nurses that were not nurses, and they would give people a free supply of infant formula. And when you do that, what happens is the mother would give it to the child, and it stops her letdown response, so she could no longer breastfeed. And they told them that this is the best thing to do. You're taking good care of your baby. But there were two problems with it. The first problem was that people have incomes of $200 a year, and the infant formula costs at least that much a year. So because of that, they would dilute the water, and they would dilute the formula and give half as much, so they were starving the babies to death. And the second is that they had contaminated water. so the babies would get diarrhea and die. And so we led a campaign, began with 30 people, and grew to hundreds and then millions of people in the World Health Organization, all kinds of other groups, and it led to the greatest consumer victory in the history of the world in 7 years' time. So that group of people began this, the Infant Formula Action Coalition and the Nestle Boycott actually helped to begin the Alliance for Sustainability. Does that answer that? How about other questions, comments, thoughts anybody else has? Well, I'm going to ask another question. And the question is, on both of your campuses, you were talking about, like, if you go too far with environmental stuff, people say, why are you doing that? What would you say about where we are? I mean, we're facing climate change. And what would you say about where students are in terms of caring about this? Is there much of a shift? Is it sort of staying the same? What's happening on your campus?
So I guess what I've noticed, I did mention that earlier in this speech, it's really, really polarized. Is it also, which I know is a really common statement in this kind of time right now, but there's definitely people that really do care about the environment, really push for things like organic food and like food waste, trash cans, and that type of thing. But then there's the other half where it's like, what's the point? Like, it's almost like a Mormon kind of a thing where it's like, we're only here for a little time, like YOLO, like that kind of mentality almost, where it's this, they've reached a point where it just doesn't affect them anymore. They think they don't have any real way of affecting this situation. So there's definitely a lot of medium ground people as well, where they're just like, well, I'll help out the environment when it's convenient to me, but won't really be proactive about it. So I think it is really at far stretch, and really is very respected. But I think the overall trends I'd see personally is just in our generation, our college students and just high school students are really more environmentally conscious than they ever were personally. Because now there's people that really do push for things like organic waste, as I mentioned, or public transportation, and just things that typically weren't as pushed in previous generations.
And one more thing, what's happening with environmental science and sustainability at the U of M in terms of people being interested and numbers of students in those areas?
Yeah, I think I've actually heard it from other professors that the environmental science field has been dramatically, exponentially increasing, and so I think that's really great news because whenever, for example, whenever I mention it to people that I major in it, everybody's like, wow, that's a really up and coming field, and things like that. So I think in the past it wasn't as sought after, but I think now at the moment it's very much things that there's so many various fields and job outcomes that you can get with a degree like mine. So it's just really, really up and coming field, which I think is really inspiring for people in it as well as just the society as a whole.
So on my campus at St. Thomas, I have personally seen a great trend in the right direction in terms of sustainability, at least in the planning stages. I'm super excited about this year. But we have all kinds of things like into our curriculum, you can minor in sustainability with just about any major or minor you can find. You can work that into there. And so there's a lot more of that learning and education that I was talking about earlier that I'd like to see. Just a holistic approach. Be quite powerful. Also in our dining, a lot more vegan and vegetarian options, and sort of challenges and incentivizing people to not waste as much, and even in our residence halls, having compost bins everywhere. Really, really excited, and I'd love to see where that takes us.
Great. Any other questions? Yes.
Do you ever feel like guilt? Like I feel guilty, like I'm not doing enough, or like, you know how that is. Like what I'm doing isn't really making a difference. Like how do you overcome that, I guess?
I honestly think that's a great first step because we're realizing that we're doing something wrong. The biggest danger is maybe not realizing, going with the flow, and then we have no idea what's happened years down the line, and we can't save ourselves. So realizing maybe it's kind of tough to see it as guilt, but at least you realize it, and then the next step is to sort of change and look for guidance, ask questions, and you'll find those resources, sort of the message I have to that.
Yeah, so I can agree with what he said. I think it's a great first step, but I think the problem with that kind of outlook initially is that I kind of mentioned it earlier, where how college campus look like sustainability-wise. I think that's kind of the outlook that a lot of those people that are on that negative side of like, oh, there's no point in doing anything, but that is almost where like I think guilt is a good step, right? Hopefully making that change eventually, but I think if it kind of turns to that negative point, it'll become like, there's no point in doing anything, we're already too far in, kind of an outlook. So starting off with that guilt, but then eventually, hopefully turning it into action.
That's what's hard. It's like, I don't like conflict. So like if I have conflict with someone over the discussion, like I start feeling so guilty, like, oh, like even if I'm doing such and such or whatever, like not being able to convince other people basically, or like, you know, you feel like, oh, maybe I am like only one person doing it, but you know, that's where I start feeling guilty about it. I'm not good with conflict either, so like feeling of that is so uncomfortable too for people that don't want to change basically.
Yeah, I'm so glad we're talking about it. It's a really important question because we've always been the Alliance for sustainability. We're for something, we're not against. And we feel that it's really, really important to have positive models, positive stories, actual examples, both of people who have succeeded, but also ways that people can make a difference. And we feel that there is a lot of negativity, and even more now than ever, and a lot of people have resigned or given up. But that's been true over our 40 years of history. And when we began the organization, we came up with the term sustainability. A few other groups did, and nobody knew what it even meant. And now the United Nations and all the countries of the world are committed to sustainability. So yeah, there are always going to be some people, unfortunately, who may not be there. And I think as far as the guilt thing, I think the most important thing that we can do is to take care of ourselves, to have a positive outlook, because it's going to be a long road to bringing this about. And it's why at the Alliance we think it's important to have fun and to be positive and to connect with other people. And we find that by doing that, other people get interested and get engaged. And that's why our newsletter has humor in it, and music and culture, and we talk about positive things because it's pretty hard. And I think that the point that was made before about resignation, I think it was you, Abby, that was saying that that's what goes on for so many people, and it comes across in a certain kind of way that's hard. But I think the best thing we can do is to help, care for ourselves and, have a positive outlook. I have another question for you guys, and that is, and maybe this is the last question, I'm not sure where we are time-wise.
No, this not be after you say your
Okay. So, big question that I have for you is you've had this experience with us at the Alliance, which we're really, really grateful for, and you've really made a huge difference. And to me, that's just another point that we didn't have a newsletter before. And we didn't have all that. Abby has helped out with our podcast, Abby has helped out with writing blogs. We didn't have any of that before. And it's really because of the energy of you guys and the other interns. And it's been unbelievable how much we've done in just 1 year since we began with our sort of whole new program. What I'm curious about is, you've had this experience, and I'm wondering, how has it affected you in terms of what you want to do in your career, in your life? About it, how are you feeling about that?
Personally, career-wise at least, so my major is marketing, and there's a lot that can be said about that and how that works. A lot of it can be lies, perception, things like that. But it just sort of informed me, my time with the Alliance, that what I want to do is really tell the truth, be upfront, be 100% accurate, fact-based, while connecting people to things and places and organizations that they want to find, just being completely honest about what it is and how healthy that is for society at large. So yeah.
So I think for me specifically, I know that we talked about various sources, like who is really contributing to our environmental, specifically our environmental, I don't want to put it as like negative per se, but like who's really causing the most damage in our society. And I think that to me has almost been really a huge factor in these corporations have been really a huge reason for a lot of the pollution in our world, a lot of our unsustainable practices, and just our those type of things in the world. So I really want to, I think after my time at the Alliance, to kind of solidify that for me, where I do want to go into like corporate sustainability and matters, corporate environmental management, something like that, where I'm really working with those large corporations, and because I personally think that large corporations do make a difference in the world, and not to like discount or say that individual choices don't matter, but large corporations, if we all can have that sort of unified, large corporation can have that large unified stance, then it really does create a big, much larger, much more substantial difference in the world, and I think hopefully I can eventually do that. So,
Good.
So any last questions or comments from anyone? So if not, just a reminder, if you, in the front and in the back, you can sign up to get our free newsletter and a membership. And we'll send you the 10 things you can do that will save money. It's called Show Me the Money, 10 steps that you can take that saves money and the planet. And also get the 10% off coupon at French Meadow Bakery and Cafe. We would love to have you as a member. And we really, and we also have an information sheet that talks about some of the other things you can do with a QR code that you can scan in to become a member. Any other last comments from either of you? Covered it?
I think so. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.